Hey guys, it's Emma. I'm trying a new place of filming in my room today because I usually think the other place is kind of unflattering for me and such, and I might like this better. So, say it with me. Palilalia, Palipraxia, Paliskepsi. Now say it 3 times fast. So today, as pretty obvious by title and intro, I'm going to be talking about the difference between Palilalia. I say Palilalia, some people say Palilalia, just like I say echolalia, some people say echolalia, Palipraxia, and Paliskepsi. 1. Palilalia, or Palilalia, however you prefer to say it, is the repetition of one's own words. So, for example, if you were to be talking and saying a sentence, you might repeat that sentence or part of that sentence, such as, I love dogs, 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 dogs. A lot of people will like mutter it under their breath when they do it, then some people can do it louder than that. It really depends. So I know I recently talked about echolalia and echopraxia and the differences between them and yada yada yada. And I kind of like to think of the Palilalia and Palipraxia as like a self-invoked echolalia, echopraxia. You can see that video here. If you want to see what I'm talking about. Okay, and then Palipraxia, the repetition of one's own movements. So, for example, pointing at something and then having to point at it again. That's a pretty complex version, but also another like more simple version would be just if you were to look somewhere and then have to do it again. Like your eye movements needing to repeat in the same way. I actually do sometimes deal with Palipraxia, although I don't really ever experience Palilalia. I do from time to time experience Palipraxia, although I wouldn't say it's like very dominant in my life. And the third one, Paliskepsi. Paliskepsi is repetition of one's own thoughts, which can make thinking really hard sometimes, because I mean, imagine thinking something and then having to think it over and over and over again. Reference to the Palilalia, thinking, oh, I love dogs, and then having to think, I love dogs, I love dogs, I love dogs. So I've never really experienced Paliskepsi, but something that I didn't bring up in the echolalia echopraxia video is echoskepsi. Echoskepsi is kind of how it sounds. When you hear someone else's words and then you repeat it in your head. So I had an interesting version of echoskepsi for a really long time, where whenever someone would say something, I'd have to imagine it being written in my head, or I'd literally have to write it out in my head. Sometimes in cursive and sometimes not, which is like a strange version of that, a very complex version of that. So Paliskepsi is repeating your own thoughts that are in your head, and echoskepsi is repeating someone else's words into your head and making them, you know, your thoughts and repeating them there in your head. To summarize Palilalia, Palipraxia, and Paliskepsi, I would say that they're basically like echoing the self, relating it to the echopraxia, echolalia, blah blah blah, blah 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 kind of stuff. So yeah, I hope that gives you a better understanding of those 3 things and what the differences are between them and all of that. And that's all I have for you today. But by the way, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. It just started today. So submit to the Share Your Story project. There's a link in the below box. It's on my website. Like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for watching. Thanks, Twitches, boy!